Good evening, council, staff, and members of the public. May I have a mover and seconder to call the meeting to order, please? I have councillors Fisher and Moore that the regular meeting of Council of the Township of Springwater, May 6, 2026, come to order at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Please join me for the singing of O Canada. Council, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest this evening? Not seeing any. I will now call upon Cody's House Youth Center to present.
Hello, and thank you for this opportunity. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay? Wonderful. My name is Kristen Krina. I am the program coordinator of Cody's House Youth Center. We are a charity. So Cody's House Youth Center is a registered charity. And I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with everybody today. We can go to the next slide, please. So the purpose of me joining today is we are seeking support from the community and the council today around, we're looking at bringing forward a youth program to Hillsdale. So our request today is around having the rental fees from the community center at the Hillsdale Park to be waived in hopes that we can run our programming from that center. So we do offer our program to children from youth from kindergarten to grade 8 for participants in the program, but then we're also open for high school students to attend to do like high school hours, volunteering with us, and also then learn some valuable skills. So we're looking to collaborate with Springwater to promote youth well-being and then strengthen our community connections here in Hillsdale. And by waiving the fees, it will reduce that financial barrier for us with our programming and allow us to put all of our funds into the programs that we offer to the youth. Next slide, please. So this is Cody, and where the beginning, I just wanted to share this story. So Cody's mom, Carrie Smith, started the charity after losing Cody. And you know, she just doesn't want any other youth to be in a position where Cody was, feeling that there was no other option. So that's kind of how Cody's House began. It started with a vision, and the ultimate goal is to one day have a full center. But right now we're starting with our youth programs that we can offer in the different communities. Next slide, please. So this is our program right now. So we run a program in Coldwater. We are just finishing our first full year running the program out of Coldwater. We run it 2 Fridays a month. And our hope is that moving into starting September of 2026, that we will then have the 2 programs running where ultimately, every Friday, we'll be running a program, just alternating weeks of 1 week in Coldwater and then 1 week in Hillsdale, wanting to bring our program into Hillsdale, again, bringing more opportunities to the community for youth in the area and open to surrounding areas to come and join. So the our programming is all about inclusion. So that's why we don't put restriction on ages. So that's for children, as we say, like from kindergarten up to grade 8, and then those high school students can come in and do their volunteer. We don't charge for our programming, again, to take away that financial barrier of families, so that it's a free option that their children can come and attend and learn some valuable skills and feel connected within their community. Next slide, please. So when we started in Coldwater, we started with a few children. We had on average 5 to 10 start. We're up to 14 to 20 youth attending each night. It does shifts, and we are continuing to see new faces joining our program. We do have an enrollment package so that we can have important information, knowing if there's allergies or parents giving consent, things like that. We are run fully by volunteers, and our volunteers do go through a criminal reference check and vulnerable sector screening, knowing the importance that we are working with vulnerable youth. So our program kind of fills some of that need of giving a structured, supervised, and accessible after-school activity. And we very much pride in trying to promote the emotional and social well-being of our youth. Next slide, please. Some of the activities that we look at, so we do some recreational activities. We've offered yoga, karate, simple first aid skills. Then we do crafts, fostering, your creativity and bringing in different opportunities that children might not have at their own homes. Then we also have our mental health and life skills side of our programming. So the looking at mental health awareness, emotional regulation, communication, as well as moving into then some new activities where we're looking at some like energy healing, like Reiki, baking, cooking skills, different mindfulness tools, and we work with the youth in our program as well to bring in activities that are of their interest. Next slide, please. So our main request is around the rental fees being waived for the community center in Hillsdale. It will allow us to run what our hope is for the 2 Fridays a month, being at the same facility, and what we really like about that location is also being connected to the park and having that outdoor space to expand on what we can do with the children within nature and as well. So the support of this will help us to sustain the programming that we like to bring to the community. Next slide, please. So a bonus and our additional request is, if possible, if it's approved for the waiving of the rental fees, if there's also a possibility of some on-site storage, that would be really helpful to us, even if it's just a spot in a closet to store a tote or two for our materials, just to limit how much we're having to bring back and forth, and again, bring the programming to what it can be. However, if that's not possible, we completely understand, and we will just continue to bring our things back and forth. It just supports what we're able to do on a regular basis with the groups within the program. Next slide, please. So again, we just want to thank you for this opportunity. This partnership would be investing in youth and well-being. It provides us the opportunity to continue to grow and expand what we do with the youth that join our programs. It will show the community involvement and the partnership that we're able to do and work alongside the council and the township to bring some meaningful programs to the community. We would also look at then doing other things that we've done in the Moonstone community, and can look to bring that here too, of like bike safety awareness nights with the OPP, and different partnerships. We've started to build partnerships with the fire hall and in Coldwater, so we would love to do the same thing here, just to bring some of those safety pieces to the youth, but also um, building a comfort of being able to engage with people that work in those different types of fields. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I will have it moved in a second before we move to comments and questions. I have Councillor Alexander and Councillor Gallup Garwood, that the delegation from Cody's House Youth Center be received, and I can now open it up for comments and questions. Deputy Cabral.
I thought I saw Councillor Garwood with his hand up. Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. Thanks for the presentation. Oh, she's up there. Anyway, I appreciate the presentation. I went over your information. I also looked at the website there too, and there's a lot of great information there. I certainly see the value in programs like this, certainly when you have volunteers that are administering it. However, I think from my perspective, this would be something that really should be maybe put back to staff to look at it and see how often the hall has been used, is used, some of the logistical questions that would come forward with respect to how this would actually work. But I could certainly tell you that at this point in time, I think it's a valuable program. But my position would be that I'd like to see staff have a good look at it and see if it's something that Township can actually accommodate going forward. So I'm not necessarily putting that on the floor, but I'm just saying that's kind of where I would sit right now and let other members of council speak.
Thank you. And our deputy CAO is noting that. Councillor Garwood and Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. Yes, and thank you for being here tonight and presenting to us again. I think we're so privileged to be able to have so many local community groups that choose Springwater to offer programming across our municipality. While we, as a municipality, often might not have the capacity or the resources or the staffing to be able to do a lot of these things. So it's great to know that these organizations exist, and I'm happy to support. To the Deputy Mayor's point, from a capacity and logistics perspective, does the Parks, Recreation and Facilities team have any, I guess, quick insight, understanding if a report or additional information is necessary? That's fine, but it would be great to get an initial assessment if possible.
Director Culver.
Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. Actually, we'd really appreciate the opportunity to take this back and have a dialogue with the group and figure out what the needs and wants are, and also take a look at our current status and bring a fulsome report back to council.
Thank you. Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. So I thank you very much for the presentation, and it's great work that you're doing. It's needed, unfortunately, but it's wonderful to see. I just had a quick question regarding, because you spoke to I think like every other week it's in Springwater and the other week it would be in Coldwater. Is it the same group of kids that are going back and forth, or is it more Coldwater residents and then more Springwater residents in Hillsdale?
Yeah, that's a great question. So ideally it would be two separate groups. I mean, they're welcome to travel back and forth if they choose to do so. I myself am actually a Hillsdale resident. I moved from Coldwater, hence why I'm trying to now bring it here as well. So I travel back and forth. I will have different adult volunteers. Some may choose to come to Hillsdale as well, but I already have a group of, I believe I'm up to 4 adults who are interested in volunteering with moving forward with the Hillsdale group. And then it would be, I would assume it would be more local to Hillsdale and surrounding area that would come just from ease of. I'm a parent, so I get it too, like trying to find those places that are closer to home. It's hard when you work a full day and then to try and get them somewhere. And when you live in a small community like Hillsdale, you're traveling at least 20 minutes to get to some places where these bigger programs are, and it just doesn't always feasible to do so.
I follow on from Councillor Alexander.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. Thank you. And that's kind of what I was assuming, but I did want to double check. I'm in line, I think, with most of the people up here, you know, if staff can come back just to ensure that the availability is there. I think it's a great program. And I think the Hillsdale Community Hall is actually well suited for it, given the kitchen. When you were talking about some of the baking and the cooking stuff, it's all right there along with the outdoors. So I'm happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you. And I did see Deputy Cabral and Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And just one quick question with respect to the location in Coldwater. It looked like you're in a school there. Could you, how does that work in Coldwater as far as utilizing their facilities there? What kind of arrangements are in place there? Would they be similar to the arrangements here in Springwater?
Yeah, so we do the school when we can get the school. So if it's a PA day or through the summer, we don't have the school's not an option to rent, but the school board does because it's a nonprofit charity. They don't charge us the rental fees to rent the school. So that's kind of our plan B should this not be successful. It's just not as easy to do some of the programming that we'd like to, like was mentioned with the kitchen. That's one of our things that's really ideal to our reason for bringing this request forward. And then we were awarded for this calendar year like a in-kind donation through Severn Township. So we are able to rent the upstairs of the arena on those dates when we can't have the school. So through this will be the first year that we're attempting summer programming in Coldwater. We're going to be running through the summer and see how that goes. We're really hoping it'll be successful, but all of those dates will be at the arena. And then if it's a PA day, we've rented we've had the use of the arena. The other piece to share is as your group is looking at things, if the Friday nights seem to not really be a night that works, but there's another night in the week that maybe we would be open to looking at that too. We just kept with the Friday because that's just what we're familiar with what we've been doing this year.
Thank you. Councillor Garwood and then Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And my first question of two was going to be the frequency and length. You might have mentioned it in the presentation. Apologies if I missed that, but you answered that now. Second, more of a comment, could potentially also be understanding Hillsdale is the ideal location. If for some reason there is a challenge from a booking perspective, understanding we have many municipal facilities that could be suitable across the township, again, from Midhurst to Elmville and in between. Understanding it's not as close, and obviously it's an initiative that it seems as if you want to build in Hillsdale, which is absolutely amazing. But again, just understanding, for instance, the Springwater room at the arena would have staff in it during the winter months. So it might be an option also with a kitchen available if there's times in which the Hillsdale Hall wasn't available.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So it seems like all members of council are supportive of this. Would this be an option if scheduling is the only issue? Could we maybe approve it tonight and then just have Parks and Rec work with this organization to work out a schedule that wouldn't conflict with anybody that's currently using the buildings?
Thank you. And just to our director's Culver's comment was that he would like this to be referred to staff before and have it come back to council for consideration. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I had a conversation this week with the manager of Parks and Rec, and we were talking about fees, particularly for the halls and programs, and that staff were looking at the new fees and charges study that is coming, but at different groups that maybe could be isolated and given special permissions. And so I was particularly talking about seniors, but I think in this case, if we could include maybe these nonprofit charities too that come forward that are looking for some concessions, I think that would be really helpful for the future.
Thank you. So our deputy CAO has drafted a motion here that the motion before council be hereby referred to staff to provide further report outlining availability of location and various days of the week, preferring Friday, historical use during the requested times, and other logistical considerations for council's consideration. Captures it. Not seeing anything further. A mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor Fisher and Councillor Moore. All those in favor? And that has carried. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Council, we are now moving on to item 5, question period, and I will turn to Deputy CAO Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. We've received one submission from Mike Campbell of 3 Anthony Court, who will be speaking in person this evening.
It's on, and just your name and address again, please.
Sorry, my name is Mike Campbell. I'm at 3 Anthony Court. I have a question related to a comment made during the regular council meeting on April 15th regarding agenda item 8.9, the proposal for Springwater Endowment Fund to handle the $22 million from the city of Barrie. To quote Deputy Mayor Cabral at around the 1 hour and 45-minute mark, he said, and I quote, "Let's direct all of this to Craig Road because those are going to be taxpayer dollars that are going to be used on that." So Deputy Mayor, I guess my question is, why'd you say that? The correct information is that the funding source for Craig Road is either development charges or perhaps grant funding, but definitely not taxation. I have a document here, prepared 2013. The very first question on page 2 says, "Will the existing residents of Springwater have to pay for the development?" The answer, no. All the costs related to the new development will be financed by the developers. All new streets, sewers, storm sewers, park, land, and equipment in the new subdivision, including stormwater management, wastewater treatment, and water distribution systems, will be paid for by the developers. Again, Deputy Cabral, I just want to know why you said that taxpayer dollars will be used on that.
Thank you for your question. If that's your discretion, Deputy Cabral.
No, I'm happy to reply, Mr. Campbell. I think the context I used was to suggest that the endowment fund could be used for other purposes. I also spoke about our infrastructure deficit as well as Craig Road. And as far as tax dollars, the way I look at it is grant money, anything that comes into the coffers of the municipality, be it from the taxpayer grant money, DCs, they're all coming from the same source, the people who are going to be living here. So I view them all as tax dollars and taxpayer spending. When it comes to the DCs, Craig Road is not within one of the subdivisions, and Craig Road is not going to be 100% DC funded. The other aspect to Mr. Campbell that I'd like to share with you is that anything that we can do, if it's to avoid debt servicing to put Craig Road out there, I'd like to be able to do that in a different manner than debt servicing by maybe utilizing tax dollars now or funding now from that fund towards a project like Craig Road, which is the tens of millions of dollars. It's been on the books. You've got a document there from 2013, if I'm not mistaken, which speaks to the subdivisions, not Craig Road necessarily itself. So I look at tax dollars as tax dollars, sir. When we're spending money at the township level on any service, be it a fire truck, be it a fire station, be it a park, there is a formula that is utilized, but it's very, very rare that anything is 100% DC funded. So when we're talking $70, $80 million or more, who knows what Craig Road is going to actually cost? And it's been on the books for a long time to try and relieve the traffic pressure in the Midhurst area. I don't see any problem with using that particular term because DCs, grant money, fees and charges that come into the coffers of the township, they basically are tax dollars for our use on behalf of the residents of Springwater Township. So I hope that kind of clarifies it for you a little bit, sir. That's taken a bit out of context because what I was trying to say is that the endowment fund, in my view, in order to fill a hole with the funding that's coming from the city of Barrie, really doesn't assist the residents of Springwater Township. It pretty well puts the funds that we should be using for other services, other projects, other facilities into a void that we lost when we lost those lands to the city of Barrie. So happy to discuss this with you again at a later date if you'd like, sir. No problem at all. Please give me a call. I'm happy to speak with you further on it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to remind council and members that a question period is not a debate period. So it has been asked and in my opinion answered. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
With no other members registered, other members of the public that would wish to come forward for comments or questions?
Good evening, Council. Hale Mahan, 33 Hillview Crescent, Midhurst. I also have a question about the endowment fund policy. I was pleased to see it come forward. I've been waiting for a couple of meetings to see it because I was very curious to see how it would be structured. I think it's a very important policy because it speaks to what we're going to do with the, in my opinion, relatively small amount of money that we receive from the city of Barrie in order to offset the relatively large amount of money that we've lost in lost taxation and lost revenues. And so in general, I think that the policy works well. I really like the fact that it reinvests money so that it can continue on in perpetuity. My one question is how we can make it so that the things that we do spend on are also investments. Mark Carney talks a lot about nation building projects. I think we can talk about township building projects and things that can help us to sort of build ourselves up as a township, bring in new types of revenue. And then that way we are not only offsetting the concerns that happen with the boundary change, not only are we, and it's important that we keep taxes down in the meantime and keep debt down in the meantime. But on top of that, my question would be, what can we do to support township building projects that can raise our profile as a municipality?
Thank you for your question. I think that once we have received this or approved this, I think that would be exciting for the council to consider options like that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi. My name is Lorraine Diapper from 121 Budds Mill Road in Minising. I'd like to ask specifically about when talking about tax dollars, how many enforcement officers are within that department? Because I don't understand all of the ins and outs of that. It just seems that it's been stated to me personally that there's a lack of funding and overwhelming with complaints, so that it takes quite a while to get quite urgent matters dealt with. So I'd ask how many enforcement officers, and are they going to get a funding increase in order to deal with things on a more urgent basis?
I do see our CAO jotting this down. If we wanted the opportunity to speak to the overall department, or if we wanted to respond in writing. And we're going to have a response to you in writing for that. And we could also put the correspondence on our next meeting so that the public is aware as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
And my apologies, if you could provide your contact information to a member of staff before you, they already have it. All right, perfect. And any other comments or questions? No. Not seeing any others. At this time, council. Yes, so there is a desire of members of council. At this time, we will be pulling up our our notices of motion, as I do believe that most members would appreciate having that dealt with now. I am just going to find that in the. So at this time, we are going to move on to item 11, which is our notice of motion. The first one we have this evening is put forward item 11.1. Councillor Garwood, please.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Whereas residents of the Township of Springwater would benefit from safe and designated off-leash areas for dogs, and whereas dog parks can support responsible pet ownership and enhance recreational opportunities within the community, now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to report back to council on the feasibility of establishing dog parks within the Township of Springwater, including considerations and recommendations related to the potential locations, costs, operational requirements, and implementation. This is something that I've been in conversation with the Parks, Recreation, and Facilities team now for a couple years. This actually goes back to, and is a consistent question that I continue to receive. I know, speaking with some of my colleagues up here, that question is echoed throughout the township. So this report is seemingly an information report for council to be able to better understand and have the information available to be able to support residents when those inquiries come forward. The items that, again, as noted in the motion, that could be considered as a part of this report, along with locations, could be recommended property sizes and criteria, design standards, operational and maintenance requirements, estimated capital and ongoing costs, liability insurance and risk management considerations, regulatories, items such as bylaw implications, public considerations. Again, that list continues to go on. So while it does seem like something that is very simple, in conversations with staff, it was highlighted that while it is a simplified approach, there is some complexities regarding the rules, regulations, water supply, health and safety concerns. Again, who's responsible for the space, various legislations that exist. So again, it's not as cut and dry as it might seem. So the goal tonight is to get approval for the staff report. So then council could potentially make decisions into the future. I don't see this as a rushed matter. It could be an item for the next council to consider, but something that I wanted to put out there.
And before I go to any discussion, just a seconder for the motion, please. Councillor Fisher. Any comments or questions from council? Councillor Alexander?
Just a quick question and a couple comments. The park behind the county building, is that, I know I've taken my dogs there and I've seen many people with off-leash dogs there, so I actually kind of assumed it was an off-leash dog park, but potentially not. Okay, just all right, just what I would I'm fine supporting the report, but I think when we're doing it, if we do go down this road, we have to have a few, because people aren't going to want to get in their car and drive their dog to one end of the township versus the other. So it's one of those, if it's something we're going to endeavor to move forward on, I think we would need probably more than one location. And then just in my mind, and I'm sure you're already on this, Director Culver, would be the insurance piece, because dogs off leash, as I'm sure we all know, can cause a lot of, can be great, but they can also cause problems. So that would be a concern of just where the township sits with that piece, but happy to support the report.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Alexander. And again, I see this as a timely conversation, especially as the southern part of the municipality continues to grow and and development continues to be on the horizon. Understanding that this information could also assist future council in those conversations. It can also be a planning matter as well, where those parks are located. Understanding it might be more challenging in some of the more built up complete communities that we have in the municipality. But yes, I agree. It can't just be a one location fits all. So again, mainly information seeking at this point.
Not seeing anything further, council. All those in favor? And that has carried. Moving on to 11.2, notice a motion from Deputy Cabral for intermunicipal recreational access. Seconder on this, Councillor Fisher, and back to Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. This came about, and I will like to point out right now that while it says presented by Deputy Mayor Cabral, actually I had in-depth conversations with Councillor Fisher and spoke about this at length, and want to acknowledge that he was quite involved in this as well. And this had come up before, but in a nutshell, I think if I read the recommendation, it might be well to kind of provide some background as well. So if I could do that, thank you. All right. So whereas the Township of Springwater has since 2001 maintained a non-resident fee agreement with the City of Barrie, providing Springwater residents to recreational programs and services at the City of Barrie resident rates. And whereas this agreement was renewed regularly over time and represented a long-standing approach to supporting resident access to recreational programming not available within the township, And whereas the agreement was canceled by the City of Barrie during the boundary adjustment discussions in 2025, resulting in Springwater residents now being subject to non-resident fees for such programs. And whereas the Township of Springwater does not currently offer certain recreational services, including but not limited to aquatics, thereby requiring residents to seek such recreational programming to access such programming in neighboring municipalities. And whereas the historical non-resident fee agreement with the City of Barrie, while beneficial, has resulted in uneven access across township due to geographic considerations, with greater utilization by residents in the southern portion of Springwater and comparatively fewer direct benefits to residents in the northern areas such as Elmvale. And whereas residents in the northern portion of the township have opportunity to more readily access recreational opportunities in neighboring municipalities such as the town of Wasaga Beach, and whereas the exploration of a township-administered subsidy program provides an opportunity to improve equitable access to recreational programming for residents across all areas of the township, even where such access may require participation in programs offered outside of Springwater, and whereas access to recreational programming contributes to health, well-being, and quality of life of residents across our township, now therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to report back to council on options for supporting Springwater residents accessing recreational programs in adjacent municipalities. 2, that such report include consideration of a township-administered recreational subsidy program applicable to programs and services not currently offered within the Township of Springwater. 3, that staff evaluate and provide recommendations on appropriate program eligibility criteria, including requirements for proof of residency, program registration, and payment. 4, that staff report on the financial implications, including the establishment of a defined annual funding limit, upset limit, for illustrative purposes in a range comparable to the previous agreement and potentially in the range of approximately $110,000 to $150,000 annually, given the added inclusion of Town of Wasaga Beach programming opportunities. 5, that staff develop and recommend a fair and equitable allocation methodology to ensure reasonable access to any such programs by residents across the township, including consideration of per resident funding limits, methods to manage demand within an approved budget, and options to ensure equitable distribution of available funding. 6, that staff in developing program options include and evaluate structured subsidy model incorporating, for example, a subsidy of up to 50% of eligible program costs to a defined per resident upset limit, for example, once again, $75 annually, a limit of 1 subsidy per resident per year, and mechanisms to ensure the program remains within the approved annual funding limit while maintaining equitable access for residents. And that staff report on administrative requirements, including the application and verification processes, staffing impacts, and associated operational costs. And that staff report back to council with options, analysis, and recommendations for council's consideration at a regular meeting of council on or before the regular meeting of council, July the 8th, 2026. Would you like me to speak about it now?
Thank you. Deputy Cabral?
Thank you. Basically, we used to have this agreement with the City of Barrie that permitted residents of Springwater Township to take advantage of recreational programs in the City of Barrie, the same as a City of Barrie resident could. And when this came up, I believe in 2024 for renewal, I could be incorrect on that, but I believe that was when the renewal was. We renewed it, but we also had a discussion about perhaps alternative methods of assisting our residents with programming that wasn't available in Springwater Township. Because of the equity issue between the south end of Springwater, where everybody's close, say, to, the West Bayfield Community Center, or if you're living over in the other end of town, maybe down Holly Meadows way where they have another one with pools. And, but it didn't really service to the same extent or level folks living in the north end of the township, which obviously would be closer to the Recplex, say in Wasaga Beach, and maybe programming in that area. So that's where this is coming from. We lost the opportunity for our residents to make use of the City of Barrie's recreational programming and facilities that we do not offer here in Springwater Township. And I think this here might provide an opportunity to provide some of that back to our residents and also make it a little bit more accessible, particularly for the folks who live in the north end of the township. So that's what this is about. And I'm hopeful that council will support sending it to staff so that they can kind of have a look at it and see whether this is a feasible program option. And if it is, how can we manage it and how can we make it work for our residents? Thank you.
I have Counselor Fisher and then Counselor Moore.
Most of what I was going to say has been said, but I will say that the exit from that program, although it wasn't our choice, has affected people in my neighborhood, families who use that recreational agreement. I get phone calls regularly about it, wondering what happened. But I do like having it extended to the areas like Elmvale, because I really do feel like wards 4 and 5 and even 3 to some extent were using that program, but not many people in Elmvale were. So I would like to see a program of our own explored, and one that is inclusive of all wards and all people in Springwater. So thank you for bringing that forward.
Counselor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. Through you to Deputy Mayor Cabral, I also wanted to say thank you, because it is the residents in Ward 4 that were greatly affected by this. But I want to just clarify one thing. The residents are still able to register for programming in the City of Barrie. They are not given the early registration option that they had before, and they aren't given a discount that they would have been, or at least on par with Barrie residents. But they are still able to register. Unfortunately, they're full by the time our residents try to register. So, but if we could also include, please, Base Borden, because I have been sending people toward Base Borden. They have great pool, great gyms. They've got great programming, and the rates are reasonable. So if we could include them too when we're looking at Midland and Wasaga Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to ensure that we grasp it all, but neighboring municipalities then, and that way we can, because Midland wasn't included in that as.
Oh, I thought it was in there, but I just focused on.
Okay, Wasaga Beach and City of Barrie. Okay, that's being noted. Thank you. Counselor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. So I was really surprised to see this motion on here, because we did lose our programming with the City of Barrie. I think the City of Barrie's impression was that we weren't really interested in programming with the City of Barrie, and I would doubt if they have any appetite in looking at it again. But I did take 20 minutes this week, and I called up the rec center, and so the Councillor Moore is correct. Most of the programming there is no extra cost. There is no non-resident fee. The only time it comes into play is for something like swimming lessons, where we have the fees are the same, but we have non-residents have a week waiting period. And like you said, a lot of them are filled up. So I would doubt if the City of Barrie has any appetite to renew that. They may. I'm happy to get a staff report back to see. When it comes to Wasaga Beach, most of their programming and certainly their aquatics is all done through the YMCA. So again, we would pay the same as any resident in Simcoe County, because that's run by the county, not by the Wasaga Beach. So I'm sure that will come in the staff report. Finally, at $150,000, I have no appetite to spend $150,000 of taxpayers' money on this, when again, there really is no big advantage to us other than not having a 1 week waiting period with the City of Barrie. So I'm happy to approve the getting Director Culver's team to do a staff report back, but I'm certainly would not approve spending $150,000 on it. It seems to me that the same people that are saying that we're spending too much money are the ones that are spending too much money.
Thank you. And from what I've heard from residents, the non-resident sign up, that 1 week period is where the most important is. I haven't heard a lot about the cost or the financial component to it. It's just not having access now because it just fills up so quickly. Before I do return for seconds, I have Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So a couple questions. One to Deputy Mayor Cabral, because my understanding of the motion is not reaching out to the city of Barrie or Wasaga Beach. It's staff determining what the costs are, and then if we want to provide a discounted rate similar to what we paid for with the city of Barrie, because when we renegotiated that agreement with them, I think it was around the 150,000 mark. I'm throwing that out there, might have been a bit less, might have been more. That was a longstanding agreement we had with them. So we were paying for it. They withdrew from the contract, which they were allowed to do, so that's fine. But that's just kind of taking funds that when we renegotiated that contract 2024, around that time, there was a huge outpouring from residents, specifically in the south, but also I know in my ward, that they used those programs and they wanted to have the ability to still use them, and they wanted us to use that, like to continue to pay for it. So I'm looking at this literally of, we would have been paying for it had the city of Barrie not decided to end the contract midway through. So I'm not necessarily looking at it as extra money, and I'm looking at it as something that the residents very much asked for, and we can't service them. And as much as, you know, we were hopeful to make better strides with our community hub, we really did not make strides with it. So we are a long ways off of having a lot of these programs. So again, happy to support this. I think it's a way to provide access to different facilities at a smaller cost because we don't have those facilities ourselves.
Thank you. And before I do go back to the same members, I think too the motion doesn't speak to, again, I think the most significant portion of the benefit that we in that the recreation agreement was the access, the non-resident access. And that's what I'm hearing. So even if this does come back that we can subsidize it, it's not going to be unfortunate that our residents aren't going to have that same level of access. Councillor Garwood, and then I go back.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I've received quite a few questions about this actually. So the timing of the motion is good. There's been definitely many folks that have inquired up my way. I think it would be beneficial for us, and maybe it already exists somewhere, but maybe that we can clarify and gather that information. I know Councillors Thompson and Moore were referencing what exists currently. So if we can maybe somewhere provide that, whether it be through our own channels, that would be great. But I think it is important to also remember, again, yes, it is absolutely unfortunate that the city did choose to walk away from that agreement. I believe that agreement automatically renewed. I think that's what occurred when we were going through that process. We realized that it had already passed. So that just rolled in and continued forward. And again, it was my hope that that would continue for the remainder of the term. I'm happy to support the motion. I'm fully supportive of looking at our neighbors and finding ways in which we can work together. I think we've done that actually with a variety of other recreation projects in the municipality internally within Springwater, where we might not have the facilities or the funding, but we've looked at some partnerships. But just for some clarity and not to start that conversation all over again, this was a part of the negotiated items that initially came forward to us. And I wish we would have got that across the line, understanding we now know what occurred. This was a part of that. And again, I can't speak to what Barry's reasoning was for removing that as a part of any negotiation through the boundary adjustment process, but it was on the table and now it's not. So I'm happy to support the motion though, Deputy Mayor, and gather some information.
Deputy.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and I certainly appreciate all the comments. I think the focus of this is to try and provide our residents with an opportunity. If they go for a program, be it run by the YMCA, but it's being run by the YMCA on behalf of, say, Wasaga Beach, the concept here was that if they did get into a specific program that was not offered within Springwater Township, that there would be an opportunity for them to have a bit of a subsidy. The reason the numbers in here are what they are is because that's kind of like the same ballpark that we were playing with when we were paying the city of Barrie every year. What this tries to do is tries to provide that opportunity once again, and it tries to provide it in a more equitable fashion across Springwater Township as a whole. And certainly, folks might phone up and find out that the program is full. But if the program's not full, or it's not a particular program that's, full of people all the time, and not everybody registers for it, and they do and they get in, this would at least provide them the opportunity to maybe have a bit of a subsidy for something that this township can't provide on its own. So that was the impetus for putting this forward. And the whole idea here is to see from staff whether or not this is something that's viable. It may not be. We may find out that it would be too hard to administer, or it would be too hard to verify, or maybe a lot of different reasons why. But I think it's certainly worth it with respect to our residents to give them the opportunities of recreational facilities that we do not have here in Springwater Township that they used to be able to access before. So I'm happy that we're looking to support at least the motion to send it to staff, and hopefully I'm hopeful that staff will have something very positive to bring back to us at a later date. Thank you.
Councillor Fisher?
Thank you. Just to make a few points. One, I do agree with the sentiment around the table that the money we were previously spending with the agreement with the city of Barrie, which they canceled, we're no longer spending that. And if we were to spend it on this program, I really just see it as a wash, right? It's not a burden. It's not a new burden on the taxpayer. It really is just money we would have spent anyway. Also, the idea that Barrie thinks we aren't interested, if they had listened to our council meeting, some of us up here fought vehemently to keep it. So we absolutely are interested in it. The other thing is we do not have the hub yet, and it is on the horizon, but how far away, I do not know. So if we could provide recreation fully to our residents, great. But we can't at this point. So I actually see $150,000 to provide 20,000 residents with recreation, which otherwise would cost millions, tens of millions. In terms of a facility, I actually see it as a bargain for our residents. So I'm in full support of it.
Not seeing anything further. This has been moved and seconded. Council, all those in favor? And that has carried. Moving on to item 11.3. This is the Provincial Bill 100 brought forward by Deputy Mayor Cabral. A seconder for this, please. Councillor Moore. Deputy Cabral.
It's really long. Clerk Ainsworth.
Fine.
I'm happy to read it.
Yes,
if Clerk
it's
Ainsworth
your,
does.
yes. thank
Fine,
you.
I will read it. I will read it. Just give me a second here. And it is a long one. It's Provincial Bill 100, Better Regional Governments Act 2026. You may have read about this in the newspaper. Warden Clark has spoken about it in the media numerous times. There was media releases and media
Apologies, Deputy.
coverage.
We read the motion, get it on the table, and then we go back to the
let me
comment
know.
after.
Just trying to preface it so that folks kind of know what I'm talking about. Whereas Bill 100, the Better Regional Governance Act 2026, introduced in the Legislative Assembly of Ontario, proposes significant changes to the governance structure of upper-tier regional municipalities, including the County of Simcoe. And whereas the proposed legislation would authorize the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing to appoint the warden of the County of Simcoe, rather than maintaining the long-standing practice of selection by County Council. And whereas the County of Simcoe is comprised of 16-member municipalities, each represented at County Council, forming a governance model rooted in local representation and accountability to residents. And whereas residents expect that those exercising authority over local decision-making are accountable to the communities they serve and not appointed by or primarily aligned with the provincial government. And whereas Bill 100 proposes a reduction in county council composition and introduces the potential for provincially regulated weighted voting, creating uncertainty regarding equitable representation among member municipalities. And whereas the province has indicated its intent to extend strong chair powers to the warden of the County of Simcoe, thereby concentrating decision-making authority in a single office. And whereas such concentration of authority may alter the balance of municipal governance and reduce the role of council-based decision-making, and whereas the introduction of strong chair powers at the upper tier level may give rise to governance challenges where alignment between the head of council, and the communities they serve is not maintained, and whereas municipal professional associations have cautioned that such a governance model may place senior municipal staff in a difficult position that may undermine their neutrality and professionalism, and there continues uncertainty and concern among residents regarding the concentration of authority in a single office and the reduced role of councils, and whereas the Township of Springwater has previously expressed opposition to the expansion of strong mayor powers and has consistently supported transparent, accountable, and locally driven governance structures that respect the role of elected officials and reflects the interests of residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Springwater opposes Bill 100, the Better Regional Governance Act 2026 in its current form, and that Council opposes the appointment of the warden of the County of Simcoe by the province and affirms that the warden should continue to be selected through a process that ensures accountability to the residents of Simcoe County, and that Council opposes the extension of strong chair powers to the warden of the County of Simcoe, given the significant shift in governance authority and its potential impacts on local democracy, council function, and municipal administration, and that Council expresses concern regarding the potential introduction of provincially regulated weighted voting rules and the absence of a clearly defined framework ensuring fair and equitable representation for all members' municipalities, and that the Government of Ontario be requested to amend Bill 100 to preserve local democratic authority, maintain council-based governance structures, and ensure that upper-tier municipal leadership remains accountable to local councils and communities, and that the Government of Ontario be further requested to undertake meaningful consultation with affected municipalities, including the County of Simcoe and its 16-member municipalities, prior to advancing any legislative or regulatory changes impacting municipal governance. And that this resolution be circulated to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, members of Provincial Parliament, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the County of Simcoe, and all Ontario municipalities for their consideration. And that this resolution also be shared with local media outlets to reflect community concerns and to clearly communicate the Township of Springwater's position to its residents.
Thank you. And we'll go back to you for any other
Sure,
comments.
sure. This here basically is in support of county council. It's in support of some of the conversations that took place at the county with respect to concerns about the appointment of the warden and about the weighted votes, and also in respect of the strong chair powers. I will also add that there's number of other municipalities who have also drafted similar resolutions to present to the provincial government with similar concerns at the regional level in their own areas. One that I can say drafted a similar one that I'm aware of is actually in Caledon, Ontario. So that's why I'm bringing this forth. And as I said, in support of county council and also in support of other municipalities that have already passed similar ones. Thank you.
Thank you. And on top of the County of Simcoe, we did receive Wasaga Beach has a similar resolution as well. Anything further on this? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried.
Recorded vote, please.
Theo Ainsworth?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. The motion was just read into the record. Once I state your name, please state yes or no. Counselor Garwood.
Yes.
Counselor Alexander.
Yes.
Counselor Thompson.
No.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Counselor Fisher.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Cabral.
Yes.
And Mayor Coughlin.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Moving on to item 11.4. This has been brought forward by Councillor Fisher, and this is regarding the Springwater Vesper Lions Club Memorial Bench, and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Moore, and I'll turn to Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. I'll just read the motion. Whereas the Springwater Vesper Lions Club, in collaboration with the Midhurst Community Recreation Association, would like to recognize the late Ron Coots for his volunteerism and many contributions to the community, and have requested the township install a memorial bench within the parkette on Waddy Road near the trailhead, to be funded by both organizations. And whereas the township of Springwater is being requested to provide an in-kind contribution of a cement pad for installation of the memorial bench, be it therefore resolved that the council of the township of Springwater support the initiative and direct staff to work with the organizations on the suitable location for the memorial bench, and further, the council approves an in-kind contribution, of the installation of the cement pad.
Thank you, and back to Councillor Fisher for comment.
Thank you. My motions are a bit shorter, so but both groups within the community, the Vesper Lions Club and the Midhurst Community Recreation Association, have worked together on countless initiatives, and increasingly have done so. It's been great within the community for both of our organizations and the community at large. It's also to honor Mr. Ron Coots for all of the contributions that he's put forward, and thank you. This is actually a picture of what the bench will look like, complete with the cement pad that would be provided by Springwater. So my ask is that, my ask is that council supports us tonight, and supports both organizations within the community, and that we can move forward and have this installed.
I'm seeing a lot of head nods.
Yep. All right. Yeah.
Any comments or questions from council? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried.
Thank you.
Moving on to 11.5. This is moved by Councillor Moore and seconded by Councillor Fisher. So I will turn to Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Whereas on March the 2nd, 2026, the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT, allowed the appeal of the applications to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw of the township regarding file number OLT-23-000990, the Lewis Pit expansion, and requested the Minister of Natural Resources issue a license under the Aggregate Resources Act, or the ARA, subject to conditions. Most notably, the revisions to the ARA site plans and the addition of the dust management plan to the site plan notes to ensure enforceability by the ministry. And whereas the license for the expanded lands has not yet been issued, resulting in the inability for the ministry to enforce conditions imposed by the OLT, be it therefore resolved that Council for the Township of Springwater urges the Minister of Natural Resources to expedite the issuance of the ARA license, and further that Council requests that all existing and new ARA license conditions for the Lewis Pit be strictly enforced. Thank you.
Councillor Moore.
So this came about, this isn't new, the Lewis Pit issue we've been talking about for some time, and our residents have been struggling and suffering through this for some time as well. The decision was made at the OLT, but the license has not been issued. And so we're caught in between this time and this wait period. And it appears that the pit has moved ahead with their permissions, potentially without their license. So this is a way to hopefully lobby the ministry to expedite their license, to get this moving so that we can then look to enforce when breaches are made. If I could ask Director Russell, please, can you speak? And if you don't know the answer, that's fine. I don't have the paperwork in front of me either. But I'm interested in the dust management plan and the existing pit versus the new license. Does the dust management plan apply to the old pit as well as the new operations? Thank you.
Director Russell?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to council. Our understanding and through our discussions with the M&R is that the OLT decision does not apply to the existing pit, whereas the OLT has made numerous statements throughout the decision that the pit is a cause under certain circumstances, causing the emission of these dust particles and particulate matter. However, the actual decision itself does not order anything on the existing pit and can't under Planning Act because the application was made for the expansion, not for the existing pit. Hopefully that helps. Thank you.
Follow on?
Yes, thank you for that explanation. I think there is maybe some misunderstanding there. And also, we all received pictures this week of a workplace incident that occurred, and it highlighted some of those enforcement pieces where the dump truck was seen on its side and very close to the residents' homes too, within a stone's throw. Not just that though, but pedestrians now using this cleared area as a trail. And so my question is, where does the township stand as far as liability goes? Or is it the pit operator? I mean, it cannot be used as a trail. I think that's just common sense. But the gate was open. So who enforces the gate there? If our bylaw officer drives by and sees the gate open into an operating pit, where does the liability lie for that?
Director Russell?
Mayor Coughlin, through you to the council. Our understanding is the lands would be private, so you'd be into a situation where if the owner is inviting those people to attend their site and walk across, or otherwise you potentially in a trespass situation.
And I think the second part of that maybe to CO for the ability for our bylaw to enforce on private property.
Through your worship to members of council, this site is under the care and control of the Aggregate Resources Act, and therefore our bylaw staff do not have the authority to do the enforcement efforts, hence the sort of trying to work with the province around this site.
Councillor Fisher?
Thank you. So there seems to be some confusion over whether or not these regulations apply to the old pit or what is supposed to be the new pit. What I've seen in the pictures is evidence of expansion. So whether or not they're hauling aggregate out or not, there's an obvious expansion right up to these people's backyards, and we're seeing things like trucks smashing into each other. It's an extreme example, but it's where children play, from what I hear, and the dust suppression, it has not been taken seriously. If I were the pit operator, I would do everything I could to mitigate a bad situation with the neighbors, but it seems like it just doesn't matter to them. So when I take a look at those pictures and hear from residents and hear exactly what's going on, I think it is our job to advocate and give a voice to the residents. It's not right for the pit to make concessions, say they're going to do something, and then flagrantly move ahead with what seems to be disregard for the residents. It's also come to my attention that they were actually shut down for cutting trees and clearing land without the permit fully intact. So it is evidence of them expanding their operation without necessarily digging. So I do feel we need to advocate for our residents in this case.
Councillor Alexander?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So this has been since the very beginning of the term. I remember Councillor Moore reaching out to me right after the term started on this. The residents of Boothby Crescent have followed the proper channels. They've tried their hardest with what our staff and what we've recommended as the path forward. They've spent their own money doing this. And we're still in the same situation with no enforcement. They're being knocked around to multiple levels of government or ministers saying, nope, not our problem, you go see them. We all know, we've all been in situations, not like this one specifically, but it is very frustrating to be just continuously passed off to somebody else for something that is not our problem when it is our problem and they're living it. I think it is our job as a council to advocate for the residents. I don't know what to promise of what we can do, but I do feel through this motion, at least we're reaching out to, they've been very good at being, for a small group, being very loud, but they need our help. We need to stand behind them, to continuously reach out to the government to let them know this isn't okay. It's not okay for them, and it's not okay for anybody in the like, it's just not okay for these operators to come in and not follow the rules. So thank you for bringing the motion forward. And then I do have a question, Mayor Coughlin, we'd spoken about this a while ago, another point when we were discussing this, about the ability, you sit on TAPMO, if this has been brought forward to TAPMO to help advocate.
Thank you. I don't sit on TAPMO, but I was actually going to ask for an amendment to have TAPMO included in the correspondence. Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And I thank you, Councillor Alexander. You made me think of something so very serious, and I haven't mentioned it out loud. I think we did a couple of years ago, but once the dust studies were completed and it was shown that there are known carcinogens in the dust, and that we see photos of dust that you can write in inside people's homes, on their furniture, on their countertops. And we've now seen the lab results that say the silica does contain carcinogens. I think about liability once again for the township, but I also think about our poor residents who are knowingly or unknowingly even inhaling this. It is very upsetting. It is. And I didn't forget about that, but I remember a few years ago when we did have an open meeting, one of the other planners stating that that wasn't the case, that you had to go further north to have that type of silica. And now we know that is, it is here. It is local. I really just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just looked to the mover and seconder for the friendly amendment for the inclusion of TAPMO. We did. Councillor, are there any further comments, questions? No. All those in favor? And that has carried. Now moving on to item 11.6, and this is the communication strategy or like health updates. This is Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood. I will turn to Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Whereas the presence of blue-green algae blooms has become a reoccurring issue on Orr Lake over the last few years, and whereas there are multiple parties involved with differing areas of responsibility in the detection and communication of water quality issues on Orr Lake, including the Severn Sound Environmental Association, Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit, and the Township of Springwater, be it therefore resolved that council directs staff to collaborate with the Severn Sound Environmental Association, the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit, to develop and implement a coordinated communication strategy to the residents of Springwater regarding the quality of water in Orr Lake, specifically of blue-green algae outbreaks, and report back to council. So fairly self-explanatory. Over the last 3 years, the blooms of blue-green algae have become much more predominant on Orr Lake, and it is confusing for residents as well as the public using that lake as to what the actual water quality is and who is responsible for what. Or the Severn Sound Environmental Association tests the water. It is the health unit that is responsible for calling an outbreak. The township tends just to push out the communication. So this is really just asking all three parties to work together to figure out and collaborate on an effective communication method to all the residents and people looking to use the lake. And I will pass it over to Councillor Garwood because I think he has a few comments as well.
Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you, Councillor Alexander, for collaborating with me on this. Again, we know both communities are geographically close, but also very close with one another, and these concerns have been brought to both of us. As Councillor Alexander noted, the blue-green algae blooms have just continued to rise over the last couple of years, especially during this term. And one of the things that we've noticed is there are many visitors that come to the Orr Lake community, whether it be cottages, whether it be Airbnb rentals or whatever it is. And those folks don't know about these concerns. They're not checking local social media. They're not checking what the municipality has on our website. So while that information is excellent from a resident perspective, we know a large portion of those that utilize the beautiful Orr Lake community during the summer months are, of course, visitors. In conversations with a couple community groups and the SSEA, which the SSEA has done an excellent job at communication, monitoring, etc. But again, they only have so much of a reach. We only have so much of a reach. So if we're pooling our resources, whether that be digital communication and or physical signage, again, who's responsible for that, where that falls, there's many questions that come from this conversation, but this is really the first step. It's not going to be a quick solution. We understand it is a larger initiative to align these three organizations to ensure that there is a clear path forward, but it's something that we've both heard from Orr Lake residents consistently. So we're hopeful that council is supportive.
Any comments or questions on this one? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. Moving on now to item 11.7, and this is moved by Councillor Fisher, seconded by Councillor Moore, pertaining to the ditching on Holloway Lane. Councillor Fisher.
Excellent. All right. Recommendation that council hereby direct staff to investigate and conduct required ditching on Holloway Lane from municipal addresses 16 to 34 on the north side of the road. I can actually have a few pictures put up. This past week, Councillor Moore and I had the unfortunate duty of touring some very wet basements. Actually, I wouldn't even call them basements anymore. They were ripped apart and put in dumpsters outside. We've had, I'll just wait for the picture to come up. There, that is a basement picture where a basement once was, and drainage has had to be put inside. You'll see a little bit more of it there. While we were there, there was water running completely through the basement, and it had once actually been over the side and up to the wall. And the last picture there, this was days later, but this is Holloway. This is actually, it hadn't rained in days, and this is the amount of sitting water that sits outside. And it actually goes back into people's basements, most of which seem to be block basements. And it's happened for years, apparently. So what I propose we do, I'll say a little bit more. Water comes down from where Frid is in Midhurst, goes down the ditches, comes down to Holloway, and then Holloway seems to go up before it makes it to the drain, and the water just pools there, sits there, and it makes its way back into people's basements. So there've been several complaints, and actually I went to inspect the drain, as did Councillor Moore, and it's completely dry. Water is not making it out there, and several streets in Midhurst are experiencing this right now. But I believe Holloway is one of the main drainage sources, so we'd like to have that tackled. So.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Councillor Fisher. Just to highlight too that one of the residents that we met had been living there for 30 years-ish, and the ditching of Holloway used to happen quite regularly and at some point stopped. So I don't have timeframes, but just that they it had been done in the past and it was helpful. So I guess engineering can take a look and see what they can do.
Councillor Fisher.
Yeah, it would seem to me when you look at the ditches that it does go flat for some time and then comes up just a few degrees. You really have to get down and see it, but you can look down the street and you can see that it does come up, and thus the drain at the very end is not seeing the water flow. But a few residents also pointed out that they're having trouble with their insurance companies, and unless something major is done, they may not be able to get insurance on that part of their home. Right. So it also seems to like significant weather events are happening, be it the ice storm, flooding in certain areas. This year we had a large snow melt and rain afterwards. So, we just need to take a look at some of our infrastructure. It's aging. Also, I do believe the subdivision is probably settled since it was built in the 80s and early 90s. So thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Mayor Coughlin. So through the chair to Councillor Fisher, are you looking for a staff report to come back on this? Or are you looking for the ditching to be done?
Thank you. No, I think it's fairly obvious. I don't think we need a staff report on ditching. We do enough of it. So I think we just move ahead with it, get the job done. I would also like to say that it should be done in a timely fashion so that we can, with rain over the summer, we can actually see if this is a major alleviation of the flooding, right? If we wait until the fall, it really becomes a next spring experiment, right? It should be done in a timely fashion.
Well, I had the opportunity to be out there yesterday and to see the ditch, and I should have brought my fishing pole because I think there was a resident. There was a resident there, Mike, that was really helpful, and there is a lot of water laying there. I think it's more than ditching. I think that perhaps it's a high water table there. So I don't know if you're amenable to this. I'd like to have somebody that knows about water out there to kind of take a look at it and to see whether it's a ditching issue or a water table issue or a combination of both. I know that there's been a lot of water everywhere in spring water this year. I know a lot of the farmers are late getting into the fields because the soil's saturated, and rather than just do a Band-Aid and dig out the ditch and wait for it to happen again, I'd like to really have somebody out there, if staff would be amenable to this, and you'd be amenable to have a staff report and to really have somebody that knows what they're doing, get to the bottom of this so that we can find some real solutions for these residents.
And thank you. And I'm of the impression that direct staff to investigate and conduct required ditching means that they're going to go out there. I trust that Director Harvey and his team will, if there's something else that needs to be done. But before I do go to Councillor Fisher, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but if you could just speak to the efforts of Public Works across the township this year with, we've seen flooding in places that people have been, like you said, living in homes for 50 years and they've never had a wet basement before. So if you could just speak to the efforts of our team.
No problem. Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So yes, Public Works staff have noticed a lot of flooding situations, obviously, through this spring. To echo what Councillor Fisher said, it's been one of those hard winters again. Staff have been proactively digging out ditches, a lot in the rural areas as well. And we welcome the opportunity to report back and also to investigate this a little further. And obviously, our ditching program does normally start in June, and we do use third-party vendors for this with the ditch all. So we anticipate that we certainly can take a look at this and implement this in our work plan.
Councillor Fisher?
Thank you. Yes, the motion does say investigate and conduct required ditching. I think it's a two-pronged approach, right? We will investigate it and see is that what will solely help it, or are there other things that will help it? I don't think we need a full report to find out there's a high water table. I mean, it's pretty obvious, frankly. But certainly the ditching is a major contributor. It's very obvious. So we should at least tackle that at first. I don't want to see this slowed because we're making it into an investigation. We can tackle the ditching. We do that all over the municipality with ease, and we can investigate and that's why I say do it in a timely fashion. We can then investigate, did this alleviate it, and to what degree did it, and should we be doing more? Should there be more ditching in the area? Do the drains need to be cleaned? Things like this. So I would like to see it done in a timely fashion.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I have no concern with the notice of motion. I'm happy to support it. I think as a part of whatever information does come back, whether it's, again, the ditching occurs and the information's coming back, again, I'm no engineer. I don't pretend to be one. So I do think it would be helpful to have, whether it be our drainage superintendent or someone that is an expert in the area. We've had similar concerns, similar roads. I think of Amelia Street, I think of Shaw Street, I think of Centennial in Elmvale. Those are three areas that unfortunately I've had residents in those communities that have had basements destroyed for 4 years in a row. And it's devastating. The same situation. They cannot get insurance. Insurance companies will not repair those basements. And every time it rains, they are in the basement with a second sump pump and a bucket, and they're getting ready. So our staff have done an excellent job at trying to mitigate some of those issues. Not to take away from this conversation, but just to give a bit of backstory as to maybe what can come from this sort of direction. Again, while I didn't bring the direction forward, staff took it amongst themselves. It's definitely helped. I'm not going to say that the issue is completely solved because we know there could be more and the ditching could occur and it could not solve the issue, but I'm happy to take that first step. Through the mayor to Director Harvey, and not to put you on the spot, but just for the public, and I should have asked you before. I remember it being mentioned multiple times, the significant amount of kilometers that we have in the municipality from a ditching perspective and the estimated number of years that it would take to complete the ditching. I believe it was in the 90-year range. If I'm incorrect on that, you can please let me know. But just to give our residents some perspective as to why we can't get everywhere and get everything done in one season. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor
Director Harvey.
Coughlin. So some quick stats off the top of my head. We have about 650 kilometers of roads. 330 of them are rural. Ditching program we have is an annual ditching program with obviously budgeted for approximately 3 to 5 kilometers. So if you do the math, we're looking at, and 3 to 5 kilometers would be just one single side of a particular road. So that's where it comes up with the current resources we have. It would take us multiple years to be able to properly ditch everything within the township.
Follow on?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you, Director Harvey, for that. Again, sorry to put you on the spot, but I think that does highlight the fact that these concerns do continue to come forward, right? Water issues, ditching concerns, this is not new at this table. So again, more of a comment than anything. I'd love to see for the 27 budget consideration to be a potential way to expand that initiative and those programs. If it is an external contractor that is coming forward, I'd love for us to be able to achieve more than what has been outlined right now. I think right now we are doing a great job, but if we can continue to ramp that up, I understand that takes additional funding and resources and time. But if it is a matter that is continuing to get worse, especially with these ice storms and with these 100-year storms that seem to have happened every year in the past 3 years in Springwater, it might be an opportunity for us to look at that program and enhance it.
Councillor Fisher?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Garwood. I agree. I think an enhancement of the program is something that we could definitely take a look at. I also think it's, although we have 600 and some odd kilometers of road, I think we do have priority roads, ones that are in settlement areas like Elmvale, like Midhurst, Phelpston. These are areas where if a farm field floods, it's an issue, right? But if multiple basement floods, and people can no longer get insurance, right? So we do prioritize. So certainly the one on Holloway has been a sort of I'd say shining example. It's been a real example of infrastructure settling over time. Because even the ditch outside of my house in the last 15 years has changed with water flows. I see more silt and sediment. I've had to clean out the culvert. So these are things that change over time. The weather's changing around us, and it's changing the geography around us. So I definitely put priorities on places like Holloway, where people are going to be affected by it. So, but I thank you for your support.
Not seeing anything further, council? All those in favor? That has carried. And that concludes our, so if you want to go through. Okay, so at this time, we will then move on to our item. Are there any other items for future consideration? Oh, sorry, back to notice of motion. A notice of motion, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. That council hereby directs staff to commence discussions with the County of Simcoe to seek approval for the installation of automatic gates at the Weeduke-Dadawin Lookout site, and that staff report back to council with the results of the discussions, including updated costing for installation of automatic gates at this site for council's consideration. Council's consideration. Thank you. This was referencing back to a report we received from Director Culver in September that had outlined options for the gates at the Weeduke-Dadawin Lookout. And again, here we are, and they want to open. We're looking for volunteers to open and close right now. But the automatic gates, with the assistance and approval of County of Simcoe, it will take some negotiating. But if we can get a report back and see maybe what that looks like, that's what I'm asking for now.
And sorry, I thought this was a notice of motion to be brought forward for the next meeting, but if you're looking to have it dealt with this evening, we would need to waive the procedural bylaw
Yes.
in order to have that done first.
Yes.
So I have a motion from Counselor Moore, seconded by Counselor Fisher, that council hereby waive the notice requirements with the township procedure bylaw in order to introduce a notice of motion. Council, all those in favor? That has carried. I have it moved by Counselor Moore, seconded by Counselor Fisher again. Anything further on this? I think we're all pretty familiar with the situation. Council, all those in favor? That has carried. And before we do move to break, so procedure is back in order. Are there any notices of motion to be brought forward tonight for that would appear on the next agenda? Not seeing any at this time. We will call a break and we will return at 8:15 back to section 6. We are just waiting for. I guess our screens aren't going on. Just one more moment here, but yes, we will be returning to item 6, which is our minutes, and continue recording. And there we are. Council, may I have a mover and seconder to approve the council minutes, please? I have Deputy Cabral and Councillor Garwood that the minutes of council listed herein be approved as presented, and we have the minutes of the regular meeting of council for April 15th, 2026. Are there any comments or questions on those minutes? Not seeing any. All those in favor? That has carried. A mover and seconder for the board and committee and organization minutes, please. Councillor Fisher and Councillor Alexander, that the minutes of the boards, committees, and other organizations listed herein be received as information. We have one is the minutes of the Nottawasaga Conservation Authority Board meeting of January 23rd, 2026. 2, we have the minutes of the Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee for February 9th, 2026. And 3 is the NVCA meeting for February 27th, 2026. Any comments or questions on these minutes? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. And on to our action reports. Mover and seconder for the reports, please. Councillor Moore and Councillor Fisher. And we have items 8.2 through 8.17. So that action items 8.2 through 8.17 be received and that the recommendations contained therein be approved as presented. 8.2 is the tax billing and collection policy. 8.3 is the 2025 tax adjustment and supplementary taxes. 8.4 is the award of tender 2026-03 PW. 8.5 is 2026-09 PW. 8.6 is the award for the outdoor worker operations of RFT 2026-30 RPF. 8.7 is the award for the administration building roof. 8.8 is the award of the wide area mower. 8.9 is changes to the Elmville Community Garden. 8.10 is public engagement on natural ice rink policy and procedure. 8.11 is the Stone Manor Woods Park naming report. 8.12 is the request for extension of draft plan approval for SU 2015-002 PGC. 8.13 is SU 2025-002 Cameron Estates Phase 3. Excuse me. 8.14 is SU 2021-002 Ballymore Subdivision. 8.15 is the deeming bylaw request for the Snow Valley Highlands Phase 5. 8.16 is amendments to the fire service agreement. 8.17 is the endowment fund policy and investment policy amendments. Council, at this time, I will ask if there's any to be pulled for redirection. If it's comments or questions, we can go through those after, but any to be pulled, Councillor Fisher?
8.5 and 8.17.
Councillor, are there any others to be pulled for reconsideration or redirection? At this time, are there any comments on any of the remainings? Councillor Alexander?
8.10.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't have a issue with moving forward with the staff report. I do want to caution a bit. I would say this probably about 6 years ago. I was not on council. The former general manager had reached out to the different CRAs regarding kind of this similar type of policy. I can tell you from the Phelpston CRA's perspective, there was a huge pushback on this. We do not have a lot of volunteers. They are not looking for training. They are not being told to do how to do their jobs. And I feel we need to proceed with caution with this or we will lose our volunteer base. So again, happy for the report, but just some advice in terms of how this, the reaction we are going to potentially get from something like this, just to be very aware of this is people's personal time. These people often have young families and they're going out of their way to do these arenas for the community, and they're not really looking to be handcuffed or told what type of training or courses that they need to do.
Councillor Fisher?
Thank you. I agree with the same sentiments as Councillor Alexander. I have approached our recreation, Dean Culver, I'm sorry. Sorry. I approached him on a few occasions and we had a chance to. I definitely feel very confident that your approach is going to be, I would call it, handled with kid gloves, right? Because it is very important. Our volunteers, I don't think they want to see over-regulation, but I do agree that we do incur some level of liability and we have to be responsible as well. And in my discussions, I just want everyone to know, including those in my volunteer group, I do have the utmost confidence that you'll approach it in that way, that we strike a balance, right? Because it is truly important. I know when it was brought up before, without even knowing very much about it, it was, how would I say it? It wasn't approached very nicely on the rink that night when I brought it up. So I understand that you'll be coming around to the CRAs and discussing it with them. I think that's the best approach. In the past, when you've come and seen groups, right, and explained even things with the Hunter Russell Trail, I think that it's straight from the horse's mouth. People really do. People are receptive to that. It's not just a game of telephone where they might get the wrong impression. So yeah. So I welcome it and hopefully it works out well. So.
Anything further on 810, Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Colgan. This was also the item I wanted to speak to, and I specifically wrote down here, again, not interested in making this a cumbersome process that could drive our volunteers away. So again, I think I'm echoing those sentiments, but I also see this as an opportunity to bring in new volunteers. We know some of the community rinks like Midhurst, like Phelpston have a really great organized group. Some of the other rinks in the community aren't necessarily run by the CRAs, they're run by external groups. One or two people have been doing it for decades, right? And I think we need to honor that while also understanding a lot of those folks have been begging for help for a long time. So if this is an opportunity to bring a bit of awareness, and I'm not even going to say structure, but just clarity around the roles and responsibilities of these volunteers, and if there's a way that we can even share some resources as well amongst these rinks. Again, Midhurst has done a great job with the outdoor rink. Maybe there's another community that might be able to use some of those resources as well. So anyway, I'm excited to see where this goes, but I agree. I think caution is key here.
Any comments on the remaining reports? Councillor Fisher?
Just be kind, Dean.
Comments on any other items? So we will be voting on items 8.2 through 8.17 with the exception of 8.5 and 8.17. Council, all those in favor? And that has carried. We will now move on to item 8.5. And we have this moved by Councillor Fisher, and just a seconder to get it on the floor, please. Deputy Cabral, that the report from the senior engineering technologist titled 2026-09 PW CCAN additional fund request dated May 6, 2026 be received, and that RFQ 2026-09 PW be awarded to 11130888 Ontario Inc. SJ Landscape for 11,350 excluding HST, and the additional 1,549.76 including HST recoveries be funded from the Capital Infrastructure Reserve. Councillor Fisher.
Thank you. So through the chair to, I guess, Director Harvey, we send out an RFQ, and then in this case, the 4 bidders come back, give us their price on what is a 40-foot new container delivered. I'm assuming this price includes. Is that the process that we go about? They then would email us their quotes and we'd choose from them? Am I correct in assuming that?
Director Harvey.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Coughlin. So we have our procurement bylaw and process. This went out to tender, this particular CCAN Public Works tender. So they were brought through the same sort of process. Yes, there was an email through procurement on what the pricing was, and then it was reviewed by staff.
I guess my issue with it, when I take a look at a 40-foot container, and I've bought and sold some for my personally, and even done one for the CRA, it seemed to me like a lot of money. Maybe I'm out of touch. So $11,549 seems like a lot of money for a 40-foot container. Even if we're saying it new, just I think everyone should know there's no such thing as a new container. It means it's a one shipment. It's made it one time across the sea, right? And it's probably made enough money in it where they can just abandon it and they sell it off. So I made a quick phone call to a container company, one that's they have a yard out of Caledon, and I can buy the same unit for about $4,000, and they'd ship it up for about $450, right? So I just don't know how the bidding process works. And by the way, that was a new. If we were to buy a used one, and I've bought used ones before, there's hardly a difference between the two. It'd be about $1,900 for it. So do you know, can you explain where what I would call a price discrepancy, all variables being the same, why have these 4 bidders come back and they're exorbitantly more?
I don't know, maybe I'll CAO Forfar, if you want to speak to the procurement policy and what happens when people bid on things that are in the municipal realm. It seems to always be a little higher.
Through your wishes, members of council, we went through the standard procurement process for the township. It is a requirement of the township's operations, and these are the bids that were received. It's not unusual for bids to come in what I might suggest to be sometimes a little bit above market averages or what you might see in the private sector. I can't comment on the reason why or not, but those were the bids that came in, and it's certainly an important piece for the township in terms of providing some on-site storage for facilities that are quite squeezed at this time.
Councillor Fisher?
Oh, I totally agree. I hear this very often, and it's almost like we should live with it. That we sort of, for lack of a better term, get a bit screwed on it. But it's drastically more. I think as being stewards of the taxpayers' money, if it were $500 or $1,000 more, we could definitely say, who cares? It's the cost of doing business, right? But it's considerably more. And I'll tell you where it really gets me is I actually took it one step further, and I phoned 3 of the 4 companies that bid and got a quote on the exact same unit. Well, I won't name them by name, although anyone can look it up. The first one, I couldn't get them on the phone. Second one, I got that same unit, not for $13,584, for $4,800 and delivered for $475. The next one down, $5,000 coming out of Mississauga with a estimated $600 delivery fee. So same unit, same criteria, same company, same delivery, same company, right? But I could buy 3 of them for the price that they gave us, right? So, and I'm not coming down on staff. You guys did it the way that it's to be done. I have a huge problem with companies, and if it is the company in this case, which I'm assuming it is, I have a huge problem with companies seeing a municipal bid come in and saying, well, let's try them on for size. Let's charge them 15 grand instead of 5 grand, right? And I think for us as councillors to sit back and say, well, it happens when it's a municipality. Well, okay, nickels and dimes, guys, but that's not nickels and dimes. That's 3 times in some cases, over double, 2.5 times, right? And I don't even know this numbered company that's, I don't know, it seems to be operated out of a private residence when I looked it up. So what are we to do about that? Like, I think that's a legitimate answer or question that we as councillors really, we should be asking. And I understand this is just on a container, but it leads me to believe, is that happening on a front end loader, right? Is it happening, when we build infrastructure, so what's to be done about that, through the chair to, if you don't mind, CAO Forfar.
CAO?
Through your worship to members of council, I'd have to ponder that. We do have a process for procurement. We do have standardized practices for things. There are good reasons why townships have to have very open and transparent and very strict standards around public procurement. It's certainly something that I'd be happy to sort of take back to the team and look at. And where there are any opportunities in terms of our procurement bylaw to seek more sort of aggressive stance on some things. The challenge is we are into a process. We had reasonable bids. We've gone with low bid that was a compliant one. And this is where it landed. And again, it was slightly over budget. Again, I think too much of our surprise as well. Hence why we're back in front of council on this one. It's not a clean award. We needed the additional 1,500 and so on to make this one come together so that we can get a safe place for some of those public works supplies that are currently sitting outside, unfortunately.
Councillor Fisher?
Yeah, and I totally agree. CIO 4FR, we need a safe, secure space that often these are dry. And I don't think there's anything more secure that you can buy. You can't build a shed that well. That being said, you know, to store something but pay 3 times as much and say to the taxpayer, that's how it goes with your tax dollars. I can't vote on this tonight, and I ask the rest of you not. I think it needs to go back. We need to look at it. It's my understanding that I believe it's over $75,000 is when we send it out, right? Can we not just phone up a reasonable company and maybe tell them that we aren't a municipality, I don't know, and get a reasonable price on this? Because I just can't accept, right? And again, this is not coming down on staff. I just can't accept that we as a municipality just have to suck it up and pay more, like we're almost like we're wealthy enough to stroke that check. Well, it's our taxpayers' money, and whether it's a container that we're getting soaked on, or whether it's a truck, a tractor, infrastructure, we should not be voting on this and allowing this to happen. So.
Thank you. And before I do go to CO4FR, there is, to the top of my mind, with AMO, there has been delegations that have been done to advocate for municipalities, because we're not the only municipality that obviously that experiences this, and it's frustrating for sure. But CO4FR, if you could speak to the $75,001 and what the difference is between procurement that is under the staff's threshold and procurement that comes to council.
Through your worship, there's certainly a series of levels within our procurement bylaw in terms of things that come to council and things that staff can delegate through. This one, unfortunately, was over the threshold of allocated capital dollars, which is why it's here tonight. Should it come back to staff, we can certainly sort of take a look at where we are in the process for this. And if there is an opportunity to do something a little different within what we've got, I'm not entirely certain that there is off the cuff, but we can certainly take a look at that. But again, it is a challenging environment we do find ourselves in sometimes. And this is certainly, I would suggest, a symptom of that.
Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and appreciate that. I've purchased CCAN, not a 4-footer, 20-footer, had it delivered. And when I saw these prices, I was a little bit concerned, and at the same time was wondering, you know, why is it that this happens? So actually, I'd like to thank Councillor Fisher for kind of looking into it and realizing that these prices are much more than, you know, maybe what they should be. And I think too that, you know, if we are in this process, this is not a big ticket item per se, but these are big ticket prices for what it is that they're providing us. But at the same time, I can just imagine maybe there have been other times where, you know, the people who are providing the amounts or the services, the vendors that are picking up from bids and tenders, whether or not, you know, it's always like pick and choose for them and see, you know, what's the most we can squeeze out of the municipality. And I do say, listening from Mayor Coughlin with respect to other municipalities, kind of saying, you know, there's something wrong with this process. And I think it happens like all the time. And I remember getting radar boards in the previous term where, you know, we were being charged $7,500 for something that literally we could pick up for $1,800 and have brought over, that likely what we were buying was already made over in Asia. So I don't mind like maybe letting staff have another look at this and reach out to these guys and say, like, maybe no. I don't know if we can do that, but I think it'd be worth a try to say, hey, listen, you know, all of you are way out in left field. That's really all I could say about this, but I mean, mine wasn't like a one trip one, but I certainly didn't pay $2,000 for it even when I got it, and it's about 3 years old.
Counselor Fisher?
I definitely would like to see this to go back to staff. Again, I understand the bidding process goes out, and I think that probably some companies take advantage of it. But we also can't be apathetic towards that. Staff and council as well, right? We need to know when something's wrong, and something to me, I can't justify that. You wouldn't in your private lives, and I can't in this life. So I would like to see it go back to staff. I'm sure if you can, I can provide you the quotes that I received. I had emailed to me. I actually would challenge these people. I even wrote down their names and say, "Hey, what's going on here, guys?" So I'd like to see us. Do we have to vote to have it go back to staff? Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'd like a recorded vote.
I have Counselor Garwood. And Deputy.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Through you to either the CEO or the Deputy CEO, can you just speak to, just for clarity purposes, the RFQ and RFP process, the number of bids that are required, and what that structure looks like when we're required to accept the lowest bid, or whether we can go back out again, just for clarity purposes?
CAO?
Through your worship, it would be best if I can provide you with some more details through reporting back, if that's what council's looking for. I don't want to speak at a turn tonight. I don't want to speak to this particular item, given that we're in a procurement process, if that's okay.
Deputy CAO, Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And I was just curious, when we're talking about the bids and tenders process, if it would be possible to include in there, how that process works, and is there a cost to the people to download what it is that they want to potentially bid on? Or isn't there? Like, can anybody bid on stuff, or does it have to be someone who's downloaded and paid a fee in order to do it? I'm just curious to know about that, because that might present some obstacles too, or make it actually easier for folks to lack of a better term, game the system.
And just for process, I would turn to CO Forfar. Understanding council's desire to have a report back on the procurement process. I'm assuming we'd like to keep it separate from this one individual item, so there would be then a notice of motion. We've already gone through notice of motion, but I'm sure one member of council will put it onto our agenda for the next meeting. I'm going to turn to Deputy CAO, please.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. That is exactly what I was going to recommend, to keep the item separate, dealing with this award. And what I've drafted, that it is a referral to staff to seek alternative opportunities to purchase the asset at a cost equivalent to fair market value. That would provide staff the direction to continue on with seeking this piece of equipment as needed, and then a separate motion to have a report back, come back to council, just to outline the township's procurement bylaw, what the procurement processes are, the different levels and thresholds of costs when it comes back to council, and all of the information regarding the bids and tenders piece as well. So that's what I would recommend, dealing with this as a referral and then a separate motion for the other piece.
Okay. Councillor Fisher?
And if at all possible, can we have this come back for the next meeting of council? I understand that it's something that our staff want in a timely fashion. So if that's amenable, I'd like that.
CO Forfar?
Through your worship, members of council, can we target the next meeting, and worst case scenario, the second meeting in June? I just want to be thorough with some of the procurement pieces back of house, and if staff need a little more time, the reports are going to be going out by next week is all my concern is.
Sorry, just for clarification, I mean solely about the purchase of this container.
Okay.
The report that can come at a later date.
Thank you for clarification. And so we do have an amendment put forward by Councillor Fisher. I need a seconder on that, please. Councillor Moore. And all those in favor of the amendment, or sorry, I made an assumption that the recorded vote would be on the motion as amended. Okay. Okay, perfect. All those in favor, and that has carried. And slipped my mind, but as part of that, the procurement process with the county of Simcoe too, so just to make it part of the fulsome report so that council can be aware of our opportunities in bidding with other municipalities. So that has been dealt with, and we are now moving on to item 817. As soon as I find it. And I had this, so moved by Counselor Fisher. Seconded, a seconder to get it on the floor, please. Counselor Garwood. That the report from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding the proposal for Springwater Endowment Fund dated May 6, 2026 be received, and that Springwater Township Council approve the proposed Springwater Endowment Fund attached herein in Appendix A and direct staff to implement the policy in accordance with the township's investment policy, and that Springwater Township Council approve the recommended amendments to the township investment policy attached here in Appendix B. Counselor Fisher.
Thank you. I'll make it short. Unfortunately, I can't support this out of principle this evening. I feel that supporting it, although it's very similar, and I thank staff for providing the information. I feel that in supporting this, and I've been fairly vocal about it not being a great investment plan and not being a suitable amount of money for what we lost. I feel that in supporting it tonight, in really this, or maybe in any form, would be a bit of an approval of what came before it in terms of annexation. This we say $22 million has come to us in what I would call basically a VTB, a vendor take back. They're paying us off over 5 years. The last dollar we receive is not worth as much as the first dollar we receive. And certainly a 4% return on investment estimated, it doesn't make it worth it for me. But I can't support it largely based upon principle. I do not believe the deal that we got was good. It wasn't good for our citizens, and I don't even think that financially what we're doing will pay us a dividend into the future. So out of principle, I cannot support it tonight.
Counselor Garwood and Deputy.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And again, I wanted to thank staff for the work on this effort. Just stemming off those notes, and again, not to rehash the past. Obviously, the boundary adjustment matter has been a contentious matter at this table, right? That is not a secret, and not everyone here is pleased with the direction in which things went and how they ended. But I also see this as now our opportunity. We can't change the legislated boundary adjustment. We cannot change the dollar amount that was negotiated. We cannot change any of those facts. But what we can do is we have an opportunity in front of us tonight to set the municipality up with what we've had. And I see that as our responsibility as a board of directors at the end of the day. We might not like the options that are presented to us, but to pack our bag and go home, I don't think is in the best interest of the residents. So again, you might not like where we got, and that's with all due respect. The reality is this is the situation that we're in right now. And if we have an opportunity to sit here and talk about how we are going to allocate some think is not enough. Some think is the largest boundary adjustment compensation package in Ontario's history. Again, everyone has a different opinion on that. So I'm pleased tonight to see this policy in front of us. It gives the community and this council direction, not just this council, but future councils as well. It allows us to, again, offset the assessment base that was reduced by specifically earmarking funds for that purpose and ensuring that this fund is dedicated and cannot be reallocated into general revenue sources. This dedicated allocation is also in place until the annual assessment base increase zeroes out, which is estimated to be 5 years. So again, I thank staff for doing so, and I will be supporting this tonight.
Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And at the last meeting, I did raise my concerns about this. I don't necessarily have an issue with the concept of an endowment program. What I do struggle with is losing taxation and then being compensated from the city of Barrie, and then taking that compensation to offset the tax base that we lost, which in my mind provides us net zero return. on that particular issue of the plan. As I said before, I think when that happened, because, our residents are paying for that right now, even though the land is gone. And in addition to that, the funds that are being directed to fill that gap are coming from the compensation package from the city of Barrie, and ultimately we're putting it towards what we lost. So that's the piece I struggle with. That's why I can't support this. And there was, in my mind, no effort, as far as I know, to look at our operational, capabilities and our operational requirements. All of those things to see whether or not there was any potential, now that we don't have those lands, to offset by reducing our own budget. So as I said, that's the reason why I'm unable to support this. I think the idea of the endowment fund itself is valid. And if the funds that were coming from there could be directed to new services, new facilities, new programs, then I see that as a win for Springwater Township. But simply putting it back into, or directing it primarily into what we lost, I just see that as a net zero. And it has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that we won't benefit from that at all, I don't think, and our residents don't either. We're just kind of hiding it.
Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I will be supporting this tonight. Again, thank you for staff we have the money. We need to do something with it. We need to do the best for our residents because it's not our money. It's actually their money. I like the fact that we're going to be using a professional investment manager. I think that's the right way to go. I don't think any of us here are qualified to decide where that money goes or how it should be invested. So I will be approving it tonight, or voting for it tonight, and hopefully others will follow suit. And when the vote comes, I would like a recorded vote.
Councillor Alexander?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So I sit on both sides of the fence in this one. I do feel that it unfortunately was a bad deal. Again, not to rehash the past, but I do feel like we lost, and we lost big on this. On the other hand, we are in the situation that we are in. I think the endowment fund, I like the idea of it. And there's pieces of it that I'm comfortable with, maybe not every piece of it, but I'm not sure we're ever going to satisfy everyone at this table in terms of the lack of money that we did get for the lands that were taken from us. However, given the state we're in, I am comfortable supporting this as it is.
Councillor Fisher?
Thank you. I just want to clarify for people, it has to go to a professional money manager. We don't have the choice, Councillor Thompson, of us managing it ourselves. So it was always going to a professional money manager. I'll also say too, the money that we're getting, if we had a referendum today, if we could give back that money and get back the land that even Alex Nuttall brags about $200 million worth of tax revenue coming from, that I'm sure the Springwater residents, the logical ones who can use calculators, would do it in a heartbeat. So I won't support it just out of morality. It's not right what was done to the taxpayers. And to say that now we're going to invest the pittance that we got, that we will get over the next 5 years, and we should be happy with it, and that's the responsible thing to do. I think it's sugarcoating a really bad situation. And I've said it before, to get 4%, guys, inflation's 2.3, I think it was actually went up to 2.4 last week, percent. The cost of building bricks and mortar and infrastructure is outpacing that difference, So we'll invest this money, we're losing, right? So invest it at 4% and tell yourself you're getting a return on your investment, you're losing, and then we're going to put that money into infrastructure spending, the infrastructure spending that's moving at a faster pace than what we're actually gaining after inflation. Like, you don't have to have a lot of financial acumen to know that that's not really working out. You know, so we can sit here and say, "Oh yeah, I support it. It's great," or it's the best deal for land annexation. That I don't know whoever said that. It is certainly not. I heard 6 million was great. Then we got up to 20 some odd million. It's all terrible. So the reason I'm not supporting it is because I couldn't support it when it was annexation and we were being ripped off, and I can't support it now because now we're telling the public, "Hey, great news, guys. We're going to invest what we got." And you should be happy with it. So I'm not happy with it, and that's the reason I can't support it. And rehashing the past, it's pretty recent past.
I typically try not to get involved in these conversations as I feel that it, like you said, rehashes it. But to suggest that no one has said it's the most significant compensation package in the history of Ontario is not true. Because it is. It is the most significant compensation package at the time. I don't know where Hamilton landed, but it is the most significant. So to
That's not what I'm saying.
Counselor Fisher, how many times in a meeting do I interrupt you?
You were putting words in my mouth. I object.
Counselor Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I just want to remind the public that I agree with Councillor Fisher. We didn't get enough. I know that Mayor Nuttall put out a number of $200 million, but I want to remind everybody that at the very beginning of the negotiations, the city of Barrie offered us 10% revenue sharing, and we turned them down. We wouldn't even talk to them. So if there's any complaint, if there's anybody to blame for us not getting enough, it's us. It's not the city of Barrie. We were offered revenue sharing at the very beginning, and that's a fact.
If there's anything new to add to the conversation relevant to whether or not we're going to receive this, I personally don't have any interest in sitting at this table rehashing comments and repeating things that we've been saying for quite some time. I think that members, if there's a member that has not had an opportunity to speak to this, that would like an opportunity to speak to this, we can do so. There has been a recorded vote called. Not seeing anything new, I will turn to Deputy CAO.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. A recorded vote was requested by Councillor Thompson. Would anyone like the motion reread? No? When I call your name, please state yes or no. Councillor Garwood.
Yes.
Councillor Alexander.
Yes.
Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Councillor Moore.
Yes.
Councillor Fisher.
Nope.
Deputy Mayor Cabral.
No.
Mayor Coughlin.
Yes.
That motion carries.
We're now moving on to item 9. It's our information reports. A mover and seconder for these, please. Councillor Garwood and Councillor Alexander, that the report items listed herein be received as information. 1 is our status update of the consolidated list of pending items. 2 is the fire station update. 3 is the fire department incident report Q1 2026. 4 is the tax rate stabilization reserve update. 5 is the corporate credit card report of February 2026. 6 is the check register of March 2026. 7 is the update on the Midhurst Valley Ultimate Wastewater Plant Phase 1. 8 is ZB 2026-04 and SU 2026-001 Train Avenue. 9 is the zoning bylaw amendment ZB 2026-005 of Kata Group Bayfield Limited, 1153, 1159, and 1167 Bayfield Street North, and 5 Finley Mill Road. And 10 is the official plan 2051 update and work plan. And before we do go for comments and questions, CAO Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just a comment regarding item 1, the status update consolidated list of pending items. It was brought to staff's attention that there was a pending item that was not listed within the appendix within the report. So I did want to verbally advise that there is a notice of motion that should be listed within that report that directed an audit review of any contract award exceeding $75,000 that did not follow the procurement process. That stems from the May 7th, 2025 regular meeting of council. And that item is now added to the pending list as in progress and will be scheduled for a council report at a future meeting.
Thank you. Counselor, are there any of these items to be pulled? Any comments on any of the reports? Counselor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I just wanted to comment on report number 2, which is the fire station update. It is not a secret that this project has been very important to this council over this past term. It's been not only this term, but previous terms as well. It's been a long progress project, and I know the chief and your team have worked very hard on it. So I wanted to congratulate you. It's positive to see that the hall is scheduled to open this summer and on budget and on time, which is also an exciting opportunity and achievement, especially during National Emergency Preparedness Week. So I wanted to thank you and your department for the efforts and the update.
Any further comments or questions? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. Updates. Municipal updates. Counselor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Just a few items I wanted to mention. Of course, 2 weeks ago was the 58th annual Elmville Maple Syrup Festival. And again, we had classic weather, as was to be expected for a festival in Elmville in April. But it was great to see the majority of council there participating in the log sawing competition, enjoying the pancake house and volunteering time. It was a very successful day, even though it started out dreary and wet. By 5 o'clock, when everyone was leaving, it was sunshine and warm out. So anyway, I wanted to thank the volunteers and everyone that put so much into that 58th festival. We also know that today is McHappy Day. I believe most of council was out and about at various different McDonald's locations across Springwater Township, providing support and encouragement to the efforts that they've worked so hard at, understanding that the Elmville McDonald's and others outside of Springwater was making a significant contribution to the Georgian Bay General Hospital and their efforts year after year. So it was great that some of us got to spend some time there this morning. And then the last thing is earlier this week, the Floss Agricultural Society was able to host an event called You Make the Difference. And it was an opportunity for members of the community, folks from across the region, really, local community groups, local municipal leaders, gathering together at the Elmville Presbyterian Church and learning more about how we as community groups and volunteers can support our future rural Ontario, how we can support initiatives like fairs and festivals and agricultural societies and the impact that those organizations have on local communities. So I thank Councillor Thompson and Councillor Moore and Councillor Alexander for participating in that important evening and that discussion. It was pretty remarkable, and I know I left with a lot of eye-opening thoughts and concerns and positive things as well. So anyway, it was something that everybody should be able to experience at least once in a lifetime. So we're going to continue to do events like that as an agricultural society, continue to push forward those training sessions and opportunities as they become available.
Councillor Alexander.
Thank you. And quickly before I go into mine, I just pass along my thanks to the Floss Agricultural Society. I wasn't really sure what the event was about. It, piqued some interest, but it was Ian Hill was an amazing speaker. It was great. So thank you for organizing it as part of the Floss Agricultural Society. So moving on, the Severn Sound Environmental Champion Awards. This is done yearly. It's to celebrate local environmental champions and our municipal partners for their climate leadership initiatives, which is part of Springwater is a part of that. We are moving our way through the milestones on the plan. So I do encourage everybody who is able to come out. It is on Thursday, May 21st. The doors open at 4. The municipal awards are first from 4:30 to 5:30, And then after those, it moves on to the Environmental Champion Awards.
Counselor Moore?
Just to speak to two things, actually, the Springwater McDonald's at Highway 90 raises funds today for the RVH NICU along with the Ronald McDonald House Charities. So not to GBGH, not that that matters, but it's all great. And secondly, the Weeduke Dadwin Lookout is now open. Am I correct, Hale, in saying it's open next weekend? Okay, so just to highlight that it will be open next weekend, and all are welcome. I'm so excited to see the turnout this year compared to last year, which was fantastic. I've heard school groups are excited to come as part of trips from their schools. So as the word gets out, that gets certainly more popular. So thank you for all of that.
Deputy Corral?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I actually do have something with respect to the county council, and it plays into the resolution earlier on. Head of council and council composition, there was an update. Council received an information report, and we're talking about county council, just so everybody's clear. Received an information report outlining the introduction of Provincial Bill 100, Better Regional Governments Act 2026, which proposes significant changes to upper tier municipal government, including the county of Simcoe. If enacted, the legislation would reduce the county council from 32 to 17 members, allow for a full-time provincially appointed warden, introduce potential strong mayor powers, chair powers, and enable the province to regulate weighted voting. Council expressed some concerns about Bill 100 and passed a resolution directing the warden to write the province in response to the regulatory posting and to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. The correspondence outlines the county's perspectives on Bill 100, including a strong preference that county council continue to select its warden from among eligible electors in the county, and that clear criteria be established should the minister choose to make an appointment. Council also raised concerns regarding the proposed strong chair powers and encouraged further engagement and consultation with municipalities as the legislation is considered. And just as an aside, there was an opportunity to make submissions with respect to Bill 100. I forget the actual date, probably was a week or so ago on a Tuesday when the committee did meet to address it. And up until the end of the day on that Tuesday, 6 p.m., submissions were permitted to be made. And I took it upon myself and did share the address with some members of county council anyway, and others, that they were in a position to make submissions. So I made a submission personally on myself with my particular views, maybe some of the challenges with this piece of legislation, as well as maybe some possible guidelines that they might like to wish to implement in the future, or at least consider. Whether or not they'll be reading all of that, I don't know, but if you don't write in, you can't fault them for not listening.
Thank you. And further to that, the Governance Committee of County Council, which is comprised of myself, the warden, the chairs and vice chairs, are going to continue to meet as this unfolds, as there's many changes that are coming to the county. So it'll just be on basically the position of deputy warden, whether we need that anymore with a full-time warden. Things like the county, we have a lot of committees that 32 people sit on to fill right now, and just we're going to be doing a lot of revisiting to what the county county structure is. Not seeing any other municipal updates, and I just want to remind the members of the gallery that conversations do travel quite heavily throughout here. So if we could just make sure that we are being respectful of the decorum in the chamber. And moving now to get to skip all the notices of motion. Are there any items for future consideration this evening? Not seeing any. I'm not sure. Council did speak to a notice of motion for a report on the procurement. Was there a member who wanted to bring that forward this evening? Councillor Fisher. So as an item, or sorry, as a notice of motion, and we'll work on it for the next one. Thank you. And mover and seconder for the bylaws, please. Councillor Alexander and Councillor Garwood. That bylaw listed here being signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk, 2026-035, the deeming bylaw. 453-211 and 703752 Ontario Inc. 2026-036, amend bylaw 2018-041 to provide delegated authority. 2026-037, appoint the property standards officers. 2026-038, appoint provincial offenses officer and repeal bylaw 2022-008. 2026-039 to appoint the provincial offenses officer and repeal bylaw 2025-062. Questions on the bylaws? All those in favor? That has carried. Mover and seconder for the confirmation bylaw, please. I have Councillor Councillor Moore and Councillor Thompson, that bylaw 2026-040 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on May 6, 2026, listed here and be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? And that has carried. And adjournment, please. Councillor Fisher and Councillor Moore, that the regular meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 9:11 p.m. to meet again on the regular meeting on May 20th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Thank you.